here. All right. So we are going to go over ZBrush. So ZBrush is one of those softwares that if you use 3D software, it might not feel as intuitive to begin with, but the more you live in the software, the better it's going to feel, the more you will get used to it. So I wanted to kind of go over the basic parameters of ZBrush, what to expect, what not to expect, where you can find things, how to move things around, and we will go from there. This is pretty much how I use ZBrush. Once you start getting into ZBrush, you learn different techniques, different ways people use the software. You guys will definitely have your own preferences to how you work and your workflow. All right. So let us talk about that. Let me see what you guys can see. All right. Let's see. So right now I'm just using my mouse because I'm just going to be pointing and showing you guys, but I will be getting on my Wacom tablet here in a second to do a quick demo. So starting from the top, we have our toolbar up here, and the toolbar, you've got your alphas, your brushes, your color, your document, draw, dynamics, your edit tools, your file, layer, light, macro, marker, materials, movie, picker, preference. I'm going to go run through these really fast, and then I will go back over them as we go on through the class. So your render, stencil, strokes, your textures, tools, your transform, Z plugins, Z scripts, and your help. All right, so these things are pretty useful, but what you're going to find about ZBrush is a lot of the tools are redundant. They have a lot of these in different places. For example, your alpha right here is also right here. All right, your brush tools are here, right? But your brush tools are also, if you hit Alt and click, right click on the mouse, right? You have all of those tools nested in here as well. All right, so the thing about ZBrush is a lot of it is inside of different places, right? Over to the right side of the screen, you also have your panel over here, right? And you can dock and undock any of these tabs if you want by just clicking and dragging them to different places, right? So that's the same thing right here. You see this little circle, you can drag it and drop it wherever. Some people configure their ZBrush in a way where they have all of their tools inside of this kind of tool panel right over to the left. I don't do that because whenever I'm working, a lot of the tools, so if I hit spacebar on the keyboard, right, it brings up a lot of the stuff that I'm gonna need, right? If you hit B on your keyboard, it's gonna bring up all the brushes you have available to you. Right now I'm using my simple tool of ZBrush or whatever, this simple brush tool, whatever, and that's just this tool that lets you draw pixels and clay essentially. When you think about ZBrush, think about it like it's clay that you're using. In most 3D applications, a lot of the times, they want you to think of it as polygons and shapes and voxels or vertices that you're pushing and pulling around. ZBrush wants to throw that and flip that on its head. ZBrush wants to say, okay, if you've ever sculpted anything in real life, we want to bring that same type of energy. We want to bring that same type of feeling to you, the user. So we want you to feel like whenever you're doing anything, it's more akin to sculpting, like you're sculpting on digital clay. So if I bring out and I draw, I'm going to hold on Shift. All right, and whenever I hold down Shift, what that does is it snaps it to whatever axis I'm using. Right now, if I do that same operation again, it's going to draw another sphere. I don't want to do that. I actually want to start editing on this sphere that I have. So the next thing that I'm going to click is the edit button. Now that I have my edit function working, I'm going to Control Z this. Actually, I'm going to turn off my edit and don't switch. Just switch. Actually switch. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Now I'm drawing multiple spheres, right? Sometimes this will happen. You go, wait, what's happening? Why can't I edit what I've got selected? Well, it's because you didn't choose to edit whatever it is you have. To clear this, I'm gonna hit Control and N on my keyboard. Let me actually turn on No Board. Maybe that'll help you guys. I'm gonna turn on No Board. No Board will be my on-screen keyboard, and then you guys will be able to see whatever I'm doing in the playback of the recording. All right, so there will be no, oh, what button did it? Because that was one of the things that when I was in school that used to like trip me up, is like the teacher showing something on the board, and you don't know what the hell they're clicking on their keyboard or their mouse or whatever. But you'll be able to see it in this recording. All right, so like I was saying, when I click to drag, I can drag out a sphere, and then you can do that for any of these objects in my subtool panel over here. I'm gonna hit Control N to clear. I'm going to start off my sculpt. This is how I start most of my sculpts, if not every sculpt. I click a Z sphere or sphere 3D, boom, like that, and then I drag it, and then I click on edit. Now I'm editing just this sphere. I'm rotating it, and if I can't tell what I'm rotating, if you look up to the right hand side, they have what's akin to a view cube inside of 3ds Max. If you've taken my 3ds Max class, I tell you to turn it off, and it's stupid. In ZBrush, it's actually kind of useful because I can know if I'm turned to the left, to the right, to the top, to the bottom, right? Just by looking at Homeboy over here to the right of the screen. All right, so I've got my, now I want to turn them to the front. As you can see where my marker is right here. If I hit X on my keyboard, that's going to pull up my symmetry tool, right? Another thing that you want to remember is, like I told you, everything is redundant inside of ZBrush. If I hit B on my keyboard, it pulls up my entire brush tool, right? I told you guys, a lot of the stuff I do either on keyboard, and if I have to dig and find it, I'll go and do that later. But most of the stuff that I want to teach you guys, I want to teach you guys to get used to using your keyboard and your Wacom pen for a lot of the functions. And minimally, right, unless you're going to do like a Z plugin or something like that, then you can go hunting and searching. All right? So a lot of the times when I'm creating something, the first thing you're going to want to do is, this gradient background is cool and all, but I like a good, just a simple gray screen. That's the way I draw. That's the way I do my concept art. I do like a neutral gray, right? It's not too hard on the eyes when it's super black, because black or white could be too hard on the eyes. A neutral gray gives you kind of an even tone that you can kind of work with. All right, so I usually do that for my background. So all I do to do that is I go to my document, and then right here in this area right here, I go and bring my range down to 0. Now I've got a completely gray background that I work with whenever I'm sculpting. Whenever I'm sculpting as well, my material is usually, they give you this default red wax, right? It's akin to red clay that we used to work with back in the good old days. That's the most common color of clay, terracotta. If you're used to that kind of, if you've seen that kind of pottery, right? That's the kind of tool that it was a very common color, common tool that's used. And a lot of the tools that you'll see inside of ZBrush are named after real life sculpting tools. right? And they kind of work in a similar fashion. So if you're used to sculpting in real life, if you've sculpted anything in real life, these tools should be used to you. All right? So what I like to do is at this bottom right here, right above the gradient, right above the switch color and the gradient, I click on my material, and I usually do a matte cap gray. Yeah, I usually just do a matte cap gray. Or matte cap green Roma is okay. You can also try some of these reflective pastel. What you're really going for is you want something that is neutral but has good sheen, right? Like has good reflections, so that whenever you make a move, let me see, let's make Polymesh 3D. Give me one moment. So whenever you sculpt it, you want to have good color on it. All right, X on the keyboard. All right. So right now, if you look at the sphere, we have a lot of these facets. I'm going to turn on the polyframe. And what you're seeing is the polygons that the sphere is made of. If you've taken any of my Intro to 3D classes, you know all polygons are eventually broken down into tris. You split this down, that's a triangle. Computers, video game engines read and will break all of your models down into tris at the end of the day. So always keep that in mind. All right? So whenever you're sculpting and you start off with an object like this, you might be tempted to go into your geometry panel and then hit the divide a couple of times to get a completely smooth surface. As somebody who's done this for a while, and how do I put this? The best way to sculpt and make anything is to always start and keep it in the lowest subdivision for as long as possible before you go all the way up onto a higher subdivision. The reason being that once you go to the higher subdivision, right, it looks smooth, it looks fancy here, but it's going to be harder to make big sweeping changes. You want to make a lot of the big changes while you're in this lower subdivision. That includes, so I'm going to go B, M, and V. That's my move tool. I'm going to increase these brackets, my brackets right here. If you can't see my screen right now, but if I was in class, this is what I would make you hit these brackets a bunch of times so you can get used to it. But it increases the size of my brush, right? And this allows me to move, push, and pull on my mesh. And I like to do this in the lowest subdivision. The reason is because once you do it in the lowest subdivision, you have more ability to manipulate the mesh, right? It gives you a lot of leeway whenever you're moving your mesh around if you work in the lowest subdivision. All right? I can make these big sweeping changes here without having to worry so much about what's happening to my geometry. Right? In this form, I'm not really too worried about how my topology looks. Topology is very important when it comes to modeling anything, right? It's important to check it, but you have to remember, hey, I've got this high valence point right here. And what a high valence point is where a lot of edges meet. The reason that you don't want a lot of high valence point in your models is because whenever you're trying to sculpt something, these parts tend to deform in a very weird way, right? So you really generally want evenly distributed quads on all of your models. That's really what you want. That's the ultimate, right? That's the height of an efficiently modeled piece of sculpture. That's something that's going to deform properly. You can see when I pull, right, you can see that I do have this point that it goes out to. If that's not how my model's supposed to look, right, I'm not making some weird cone-headed monster, right, like that doesn't look right. Let me show you. B, C, B, that's my clay buildup tool. My clay buildup brush. I spoke wrongly on that one. And then if I start to build, you can see how it weirdly deforms. All right. However, so I'm going to show you the polyframe. So if I go into I'm going to do something called Z-Remesher instead of Dynamesh. And then I'm going to just do the same. And then I'm going to Z-Remesh it. And you guys will see the difference, right? I've made these changes at the lowest possible subdivision. And then I had it Z-Remesh it. And now you can see whenever I start to sculpt, I'm not going to get that weird pole at the top. All right? So I usually do start with a sphere. But then when I start building onto my sculpt, I then go and I Z-Remesh it to get me better topology, more even quad topology all around, right? If you look up here at your bar up here, you have your, essentially this is your undo panel, right? You can go all the way here. But the moment I start to sculpt again, it's going to clear my undo history. It's going to say, hey, buddy, you've done a lot of stuff. You sure you want to get rid of it? If I hit OK, you'll see that it has reset my undo history. All right, so keep that in mind when you are sculpting. All right, so these are some of the features that are very, very useful to you whenever you're sculpting anything. I've got my symmetry on, right? If I don't like how my symmetry is working and I don't see what's going on, I go into my stroke, my transform tab right up here. And let me show you. So X, right? It's just activating that symmetry. Also, I can have it symmetry on the Y or the Z, or I can have it symmetry on all 4 of those axes. Right? So if this is usually good if you're sculpting something. Let me Z-Remesh this. Right? If I'm sculpting something that's like an artifact or a tool or something like that, I can use this to start to do my, right? I can start to make some interesting looking shapes here using this feature. All right, and then if I Z-Remesh it again, maybe go down here, I can go to my surface, deformation, and then I can maybe polish it a little bit, right? Maybe it's some sort of artifact in a game that you pick up, Let's turn it off. Shift smooths everything out. So whenever I need to use a brush, now let's go back in my undos once again, all the way down. So there's a lot of different things that you can do when it comes to this. So if I hold down Control on my keyboard, this is my masking tool, right? This is cool if I want to make like a Pokeball or something. All right. So I've got my masking tool, and I just use Control to drag it. If I hit X on my keyboard again, my masking tool now won't have that symmetry modifier. But if I hit X, I've still got my symmetry modifier on. The cool thing about this is if I start to either inflate it or deflate it, I can start to make some pretty interesting looking shapes, right? And then all I'm doing to switch my mask, where my mask is oriented, is I'm just holding down Control and left clicking on my mouse. You'll be able to see that whenever you see the video playback. All right, I can then maybe hit a polish a couple of times or something, or control that, go back to my geometry tab here, and then maybe Z remesh it, and it'll give me something clean. And then I can divide it a couple times, and I've got some clean looking mesh detail work that I didn't do that much work for. All right, I can do something like this. Control, like that. Control, and then I can do the same deformation function, and then maybe inflate it again. All right. So you can start to do a lot of stuff really quickly inside of ZBrush. Right now, this looks like a little, a little robot helper or something. Right. What you're seeing poking out is in my subtool here. It's been bothering me. This is. Let me hide this. Click here. That's just a star. I'm gonna delete it. And OK. Alright, so if I had an object like this and I wanted to build, maybe do some paneling, right? I wanted to create some panels. Maybe you don't like this look, right? Maybe you're like, oh, this is cool, but it looks like it's still part of it. You want to build something that doesn't look like it's a part of it. I can go there. I can do extract, and then let me test out my extraction. Alright? Actually, let me clean that up. And if you're getting jagged lines on your mask, the reason is because you don't have enough geometry. So to fix that, to fix something like that, I would go to my geometry, and then I would maybe divide it a couple more times. And then now if I do my mask, you'll see that I've got some pretty straight lines. All right, the jaggedness has reduced. All right, so now if I go back into my subtools and then I hit extract, you'll see that I have something like that, and then I can accept it. So now I've got this kind of panel, and this is how I do, like if I'm gonna make like a robot or something, or like these like kind of.
Oh, you crashed for like the last 4 minutes.
Oh, I did?
And you weren't here. You just came back.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the
Oh,
stream
no, I
also
just want to let you
stopped.
know because you were like, I heard you talking as if you didn't realize.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, whoops. So, let me get back. Can you guys still see my screen?
no,
No.
you're not sharing.
Oh, shite. Okay. Oh. Yeah, for some reason, Discord has been not very good lately.
I think you might be stressing your CPU a bit much.
Hmm. It's probably ZBrush, OBS, 3ds Max. All my software is going crazy. All right, I might need to allocate my resources a little better. Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me go back a couple of steps then. So, did you guys see the orb get made?
Yeah, you had just added like the little eyeballs on it.
Okay. Oh.
That's kind of where I have to cut out.
Okay. Cool. Good to know. All right. So let me turn this off. All right, so what I was sharing was that prior to doing that mask selection, so if I reduce my subdivisions and I control and mask, you'll notice that I'm getting all of these jagged kind of edges on there. And with these jagged edges, you don't want to do an extract mask. You can try to clean it up after, but the easiest way to get a clean projection or extraction is you just increase the subdivisions. Now whenever I click to control my mask, right, and then maybe I'll do something even more fun this time. And then I'll do something like this. Right, you can see that I'm getting a cleaner masking. Right, with the combination of masking and projections, you can really start to do some cool things. So I'm just going to go into my subtool here, and then I'm going to hit extract. So now I've got this extracted piece. I haven't accepted it yet, so if I move around, it'll disappear. So I'm going to extract again, do extract, but this time I'm going to accept it. And now that I've accepted it, I have it as a subtool, right? So in this panel right here, whenever you want to create something, whenever you've created anything, it's going to be in this subtool panel right over here, right? So I have all of these subtools that I've created. So let me hit my move tool, actually. Let's go B, M, and V. That's your move tool. I'm going to increase my brackets. Now if I start to grab this, I can move this out of the way. All right. So I can move this out of the way, maybe shift. Is it control? Control will duplicate it up for me. So now I've got this kind of interesting looking orb thingy-mabob that's floating with my panel. It's hidden. Now I've brought it back. Whenever you want to see what you're working on, you have to just hit Alt and click on the subtool to switch the subtool you're working on. All right. So if I go to this guy, let's go back quite a bit. Let's go back. All right, so I don't like this extraction, or I don't like that when I did my inflate, it looked like that. So what I can do is extract it. But I don't want to extract it at this low of a subdivision. I'm going to go to geometry. Yeah, it's okay. I don't care about I'm just going to divide this a couple times. So now let me do my thing again. And then, boom. Now I've got my orb. Now what I want to do is, in my subtool, I'm going to extract. And then accept it. So now I'm starting to create these kind of interesting panels that are on my model. I can't see very well. All right, so now let's go into the center right here. Now I can extract. Accept it. So now I've got this kind of interesting looking. So now maybe I want to, I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. Click Alt to go to this. Right now the reason you can see my polyframes is because I have polyframe, draw my polyframe selected. I'm going to remove that, and then I'm just going to try to do maybe some of this stuff. right here, top, boom, boom. So just, you know, maybe we got some neural networking or whatever it is that we're trying to pretend is. And you can draw it on, but I like to just make the square mask because it just looks a little cooler. All right. So there's a few different options that you can do, right? So if I control and select, I can go back into my deformation, and then I can either inflate it again like that. So now we've got this kind of interesting looking orb that can be some sort of like guide for you in your game. And we've got all of these kind of weirdo jaggy edges that's not very fun. Right? To clean that up, you need to do either polish or polish feature, polish crisp edges. But let's maybe go here, hit Z remesh. It's going to take a second to calculate. Didn't really do a very good job. Let's try Dynamesh. Let's phase it. Up our resolution. Yes. Let's go. Let's do. Am I still here?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Now I heard a noise on my computer and I was like, uh-oh, what happened? Alright, so let us Z remesh this. And then let's do deformations, polish by feature. My polyframe, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do geometry, and then let's just go back a little bit, because I think, here we go, detect the edges, keep the creases, let's do same. And then maybe we can divide this up a little bit, and then we can smooth it out holding shift. Smooth it out. All right, so go masking, and I'm going to do a clip curve just to show you guys how that works. So if I have a piece like this and I'm like, man, I would like to Control Shift. Let's do a clip curve. Here we go. If I want to, whoops, I want to trim this a little bit. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to trim this top part off. And what that does is it's going to give me like a nice clean edge. Alright, and then I can do the same for the bottom. Alright. And what it's doing is it's kind of essentially smashing all of those into, so if I show you the geo, I might have changed the algorithm on what it does, but yeah, it still does it. it's essentially just smashing all of those polygons flat. Right? It's really not the best way to clip and do your edges like that, but it's good in a pinch if you need to do like a quick clipping curve or something like that. The best way that I've found to do something like that is I usually will just clean up the geometry in general. So I'll go here, and then I'll go, let's turn this off, and then I'll just do a Z remesh on it to save. All right. And then if I do BPO, I can polish, right? Let's turn this off. Polish, or BFA. Let's do flatten. So this will kind of flatten out all of these, right? But it's not smashing it to that. And then I'm just hitting shift to smooth out that information, right? You can see it's still got this wavy kind of edge going on. For that, I would do B, P, L. And I'm just trying to find some planar edges. BFA. All right, maybe increase my, oops. All right. But like I said, in a pinch, right, you want to do that real quick. Control. Let's do Alt. Clip. We just clipped it. It looks cleaner, but it's really not, because what it's doing is it's flattening all of those polygons, and you'll usually get something like that. All right. If this is your high poly, right? Like if this is your high poly mesh, you're gonna go retopologize it. Nobody's gonna care, right? Nobody's gonna be able to see it from that far away. But if it's something that you're turning into your art director, it's something that, all right, you gotta turn in for the game, you're gonna wanna retopologize it and then use that model. All right? So as we work on our guy here, all right, I'm going to actually go to my subtool here. So this is the shell of essentially what we've made. So that's a little hard surface kind of intro for some of the stuff that you can do with this stuff. So what I want to do now is, maybe now I want to, let me grab a Wacom for this part. Because so far I've been using my mouse and keyboard, and that's because, well, a lot of that stuff doesn't, a lot of hard surface stuff doesn't really require that kind of sculpting, so you don't really need it. But for anything that you're going to start sculpting that's like body, hands, faces, you know, textured stuff, you're going to want a Wacom tablet. This is my small one. I can't find my big one right now, but you just need a Wacom tablet and a way to plug it in. So let me plug in my Wacom, and we will continue this part of it. Let me find my, there we go. And like I said, if you guys don't have a Wacom, I'm pretty sure you can rent one out from the school. So don't forget that as well. If you need a Wacom tablet, just head up to the school and you can borrow one. That's another thing I need better cable management. Alright. So now I've got my trusty, handy dandy bamboo tablet plugged in. Oh, is it right or not? I think this is the way. There we go. It's much more comfortable. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to append another sphere to this, just so I can show you this part. Let's append. So there's a few different types of spheres. So you can do a sphere 3D, or there's a new sphere that you can append. It's not here. All right, actually, I'm going to show you guys Z-spheres. Let me go to this. All right, so your Z-sphere is this lovely thing right here. This is the base for pretty much any kind of like organic. If you're doing some testing, you want to get some interesting topology that you can't work out, you're trying to start a base mesh for something, this is usually like the coolest, like the easiest way to do it, because what it allows you to do is pretty cool. Z-spheres allow you to draw different spheres and appendages to it, and it allows you to then turn that into a mesh that you can then use. So let's start with this guy right here. So if I start to draw, you'll see that I can create, all right, I can create these spheres here that I can then move around. The coolest part of this is also that I can also use my symmetry. All right, so now I can create more than one, and I can use all of the same symmetry functions that I would in, so I can go into my and I can do X, Y, and Z as well. And then move them around, do whatever I need to, but I just want it on the X-axis. All right. So I'm just gonna hit draw. So I'm gonna draw something like this, and then I can use the move tool to move it around, something like that. Go back to my draw. If I hit X again, it removes that symmetry tool. I'm gonna keep it on. All right, if you want to know where something's center is, you can turn on your modifier, and whenever it meets in the middle, you can see that it snaps. It snaps to wherever the center of that object is. All right. So now I'm gonna just use the move tool to then move this guy down like so. Right, the cool thing is whenever I turn off my symmetry mode, I can then move these guys without symmetry, but what that does is it's going to break your symmetry. All right, so I'm going to leave my symmetry on for now. I'm going to go back to my draw function. All right. Another thing is, if you want to know how to just keep getting faster, if you hover over any of these, it'll show you the hotkey for it. So if I want to go to draw, I just hit Q, W is move, E is scale, and then R is to rotate. All right. So now I'm going to hit X on my keyboard. I'm going to hit Q, and that now allows me to draw more Z-spheres. If I hit Control, or is it Shift? And I think it's Shift Draw. Shift Draw. Let's go here. We're gonna hit W. We're gonna move this out a little bit, like so. It's gonna do that. I'm gonna go Q again. And go Shift. I'm gonna go W. Start to move this, and then if I hit E, I can scale this Z-sphere up or down, right? I can scale that Z-sphere up or down, like so. So you can easily see how you can start to kind of create the base for your characters, right? So if I then go here, snap to the center, right? Go Q to draw. Right. Alright, one of the things that we would do in school is we would create a base mesh just from Z-spheres, right? That was part of what we learned how to do. So you just start and then go X on the keyboard. And I can move this down. And the good thing about working with Z-spheres is you can start to work out whatever your pose is going to be, right? If it's just a base sculpt for like a character, right, you can start to really define what, like if your character's, you know, kind of a proud, kind of, you know, boastful character, you can start to put that into the Z-sphere. Right, if your character, all right, you're gonna put the hips, and then you can start to draw the legs. Right, how's our character gonna be? What's his posture like? Alright. So you can see how, you can really start to define whatever your character is supposed to look like. Right? Is your character a humanoid character? Then he's gonna, obviously have more human-like features. And if I hit move, all right. Right, you can really start to kind of generate different types of characters with the Z sphere. If your character is supposed to have multiple arms, you can, go in and create the appendage to make him have multiple arms. So like I said, this is a really good feature if, you're prototyping, you're trying to get some good, some interesting ideas out, right? And I haven't done really any sculpting yet, right? But I already have an idea for this kind of bug-like character that I've got. A humanoid kind of creature. And if he's more bug than man, right? Like you can extend the femur a little more. Maybe add a little more, either more depth or girth to his thigh, right? All right, bug-like. I think I like it when he was a little more like a human with just a little more arms. And then you can even start to outline, is he going to have wings? Is he going to have a tail? Is he going to have, the giant butt sack that they usually have? Or it's just, is he all exoskeleton? Like what's your character going to be like? Right? What's his posture? Is he a proud, kind of big beetle-like bug? Or is he, sad or grotesque like the Men in Black bugs? I don't know if you guys have ever seen Men in Black, but what kind of character are you working with, right? So the cool thing about Z-spheres as well is that, so if I'm happy with what I've got so far, right, I can go down into either my adaptive skin or my unified skin. You can use either of these to make your skin out of. So what I can do is I can preview my adaptive skin, right? So this is kind of what my adaptive skin looks like. All right, cool, right? Interesting. You can also increase the density. I usually, like I said before, you want to work low as possible. Let's go unified skin. Let's turn off my preview. Let's reduce my resolution. Actually, I'm going to reduce the density and then preview it again. No. 2. I just want some much better topology than what it's giving me right now. So instead of using this Dynamesh version, I'm going to use the classic version. Let's preview it. That looks way worse. Let's do unified skin. Alright, so if I make a unified skin, what it does is it puts it inside of there. That looks so gnarly. This is a little better. So I just usually, what I'll do with this is I'm testing out what's gonna look the best. Give it a second. Let's turn off preview. I'm not going to use the classic one anymore. Let's preview this. These facets are actually terrible. You do not want these kind of facets in there. You want something super. I'm going to reduce my. Okay, let's increase that. Let's go to my G radial. Maybe. Here we go. All right, much better. All right. So something like this is okay. Uh-oh, I get cut out again. You guys. Give me one moment. Hey guys. I think my ZBrush cut out. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Hey, can you guys hear me now? I can't hear you. My Discord is definitely acting out. I'm gonna have to do some overhauls. I'm gonna pause the recording for now. Okay, so due to technical difficulties with Discord, I'm going to finish up the class by just finishing up this part of the sculpt, which is just to show you guys what it looks like when you turn it into a mesh. Alright, so hopefully by the next class Discord has been fixed and then we can get back to our regularly scheduled program. So I'm going to cut this class off right here. I will post this up. Hopefully you guys receive this message and you guys get a chance to check it out. For the assignment, you will see it on Brightspace. I will also post it here. It's to watch the video on the skull and do the assignment related to the skull. All right. Once again, sorry about the inconvenience. We will continue with this part of the sculpt next class. All right. Have a good one, guys.